Listen, my children, and you shall hear of a lovely feminine Paul Revere, who rode an equally famous ride through a different part of the countryside, where Sybil Ludington's name recalls a ride as daring as that of Paul's. This is the first stanza of Burton Braley's poem, Sybil Ludington's Ride, that tells the tale of how Sybil helped the colonists against the British in 1777 near the end of the Revolutionary War. Sybil Ludington was born April 5, 1761, in Fredericksburg to Abigail and Henry Ludington. Soon after that, the family moved to Dutchess County, New York, where they settled on a little more than 200 acres of land, and her mother gave birth to 11 more children. Now, Colonel Ludington commanded the 7th Regiment of the Dutchess County Militia, which was a volunteer group of local men. Her father was in charge of about 400 men in April of 1777, but most of them had been allowed to go to their nearby homes because it was planting season. Now, a few weeks after her 16th birthday, Sybil was helping her mother get the other children to bed when an exhausted rider came riding up to their home to tell the colonel that the British were burning the nearby town of Danbury. Now, why didn't the rider continue? Not only was he exhausted, he didn't know the area, and he may have ended up going to places with loyalist sympathies. Now, whether her father asked her or she volunteered is unclear, but what is clear is that Sybil set out on a mission that night that may have changed a major part of the war. She rode alone, through the rain, in the dark, covering from 20 to 40 miles. Now, the estimates vary depending on, who you talk to. And she was calling her father's men, "The British are burning Danbury! Muster at Ludington's at daybreak!" According to Willis Fletcher Johnson's memoir of Colonel Ludington, the colonel wrote, "One who even now rides from Carmel to Cold Spring will find rugged and dangerous roads. Yet the child performed her task, clinging to a man's saddle and guiding her steed with only a hempen halter, as she rode through the night, bearing the news of the sack of Danbury." When she arrived home early in the morning, exhausted, most of the men were there, and they were marching away less than 2 hours later. Although they couldn't save Danbury or stop the British later that day, according to the Women of History blog, the regiment regrouped and were joined by another militia group from Connecticut and drove the British all the way back to Long Island Sound, where their fleet was waiting for them. Sybil received congratulations from many people in the area, but the most impressive memo about her heroism came from General George Washington. 7 years later, on October 12, 1784, she married Edmund Ogden, who had served in the Navy under John Paul Jones, and they had one child, Henry. After her husband's death from yellow fever in 1799, she kept an inn that they had run together. Later, she bought a tavern and helped her son through law school. In 1811, she moved to Otsego County in central New York with her son and his family. Sybil died February 26, 1839, at the age of 77. She was buried near her father in Paterson, New York. Since 1935, there have been historical markers along the route she most likely took, as seen here in this map. In 1961, the Daughters of the American Revolution commissioned a bronze statue of her on her horse, Star, which was erected near Carmel, New York. According to American Battlefields, a stamp commemorating her heroism was issued in 1975 during the bicentennial celebrations in the Contributors to the Cause series, making her just the 35th female to have garnered the honor of being on a U.S. postage stamp. And so I leave you with this final stanza of Braley's poem that truly sums up how we should remember this revolutionary heroine. Such is the legend of Sybil's ride to summon the men from the countryside, a true tale making her title clear as a lovely feminine Paul Revere.